We've spent a lot of time so far setting up various templates and messing with settings. Now, it's time to get down to business and start building a display. Our first scene is going to be fairly simple and not require too many complicated techniques to start off with. For this tutorial, we will be using an AI-generated facade to help us get started quickly, so if you don't have one, you can review the Photo Leap tutorial from this channel to generate one. Or you can wait until the tutorial where we start using texture files and begin from that point. Let's start off on the Edit page. With our house masking timeline, let's select the Scene 1 bin in our media pool, and then, right-click and choose Timelines, then Create New Timeline. Name it, Scene 1. Let's navigate back to our house mask timeline. Even though our template has several layers, we have to determine what we actually need to complete our scene. For this first one we are going to build, we will keep things simple and only use the base layer of our template. Copy the base layer and then navigate back to the Scene 1 timeline. Then, paste the base layer and move the playhead to the beginning. Next, let's choose the audio file from our main asset. Double-click on your chosen video in the media pool until you see the preview of it. Click on the audio icon located here and drag it down onto the timeline. Now, let's open our base layer up in the Fusion page and start by reviewing our Fusion tree. While we previously added multiple tree limbs, we may not necessarily need them all, so let's disable the ones that we won't need right now. For this scene, we won't need to mask anything to the garage door, so let's turn off that layer. We will need the left and right sides of the home, so we will leave those enabled. However, we will want to change all of the background color nodes to black and reduce the alpha property to 0. Do this for each of the tree limbs you will need to use in order to build out your scene. We could turn off the middle section of the house, but for now let's just make it transparent as well. Now we can start by adding our AI-generated facade onto the whole house tree limb. Recall that AI-generated facades typically have the skew and perspectives already baked in, so they do not need any transform or corner pin filters applied to them. Let's enable our map file before adding the facade, so that we can align it correctly. Next, add a merge node to the whole house limb. Then add your AI facade from the media pool, and add a transform node right after it. This transform node is going to be used to resize the AI facade, which in this case, was exported at a larger resolution than the map file it was based on. Let's connect up the facade, in order to create a branch for this limb, and then using the merge node, reduce the blend property so we can see through it in the preview pane. Use the transform node to reduce the size of the facade, and do your best to align it to the original map file. You may have to zoom in to get a better look when doing your alignment. Do the best you can. It's likely it won't be 100% perfect, but it will probably come out well enough that only you will notice anything that is off when displayed on your home. As long as some key features are in alignment, you should be good to go. Use the merge node to increase the blend property back to 1. And then disable your map file, since you will no longer need it. Next, let's add the Boo Crew trio in front of the garage area. Navigating to the left house tree. Let's add another merge. And bring in the Boo Crew video. Create a branch for this limb by connecting the media node and adding a transform to it. Let's make this fit correctly by reducing the blend property and resize it using the transform node. You don't always have to bring down the blend when resizing, but it can be helpful. Make any adjustments you need until you are happy with the placement, then remember to bring the blend value back to 1 if you reduced it. Let's make some improvements to this branch. In order to do that, I'm going to have to add some space for some additional Fusion nodes. First, let's remove the black background for this asset. With the media node selected, open the search menu using Ctrl plus spacebar on your keyboard. Then search for Luma Keyer. this should automatically add the node in a connected state. With the Luma Keyer node selected, open the inspector and lower the luminance slider down until the ghosts are viewable again, without the black background. You can play with the other sliders as well to make fine-tuned adjustments to your liking. Once you're happy, you'll notice too much black has been removed here. Let's fix that with a few drop shadow nodes. Select the Luma Keyer, and then bring up the search menu again. This time, look for drop shadow. With the drop shadow node selected, use the inspector and bring the shadow strength up. Adjust the angle to fill the empty space, and bring the distance down. We aren't trying to give it a shadow here, we just want to use this node to fill in some missing black coloring. Even after filling this in, it appears we still have some gaps. Let's copy this existing drop shadow, and paste the node right after the first one. Make sure that the lines are connected before proceeding. Adjust this second node in order to fill in the remaining gaps. Once you're satisfied, you can add additional nodes to this branch to jazz up the overall look of the asset. Let's add a shadow node to this so that they can cast a broad shadow. Open the search menu, and search for shadow, then add it to the existing branch. Once added, use the controls within the inspector to adjust the distance of the shadow, and the placement of the light source, which will adjust where the shadow is cast. You can also use the controls in the preview pane to make adjustments if you desire. Personally, I like to bring down the alpha setting and raise the softness setting when doing shadows. As you work through your build, you'll probably find you want to make adjustments as you go, in order to get the best look possible. One final step we can do to make this more impressive is to change the color using the color corrector. I believe it's best to add a color corrector after the media node, but before any other nodes, so we will make some room for that node. Then, with the media node selected, select the color corrector node from the quick access toolbar. Make sure it is connected to the branch. Now, open the inspector and choose the Options tab, and then check the Pre-Divide, Post-Multiply Image checkbox. This will ensure your color changes will only affect the individual asset, and not the entire composition. It's critical to remember to do that every time you use one. Now, select the Color tab, and make any changes to the coloring you wish. Don't worry about too much of the technicalities here, just play with the sliders until you get something you like, and will work well against your home. You can always reset all your changes by clicking on this button here if you need to. This looks like a pretty good contrast of colors, so I'll stick with this option. Of course, we have quite a bit more to do in order to complete this scene, but I think this is a good stopping point for now. In the next video, we will finish this scene up by adding additional details to it, in order to make it stand out. So remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that or any other future tutorials.